So it is 6 o'clock and our hearing is to start at 6 o'clock. Are we going to go ahead and do the Pledge of Allegiance before the hearing? Okay, thank you. Okay, our pledge. Thank you.
I'm Avery Zimmerman and I'm go to Topeka High School. I pledge allegiance to the flag, the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That was indeed the best pledge I've heard all year.
And I need a motion for the adoption of the agenda.
Madam President, I move the board adopt the agenda as presented.
Do I have a second? Or Dr. Schumacher?
And the vote is open. Thank you. All votes are in and the motion carries unanimous.
Thank you. And now we have our public hearing for exceeding the revenue neutral rate for 23-24.
Madam President, Board of Education, the public hearing on exceeding the revenue neutral rate is now open. In Kansas, in 2022, the Kansas legislature amended KSA 792988. This new legislative requirement required boards of education to hold a public hearing and provide notice when the school district proposes to exceed the revenue neutral rate. This revenue neutral rate is calculated by the county clerk. USD 501 published notice in the Topeka Metro News on August 21st of this hearing. And now is the opportunity for any member of the public to come forward and address the issue of the revenue neutral rate. It's the opportunity for them to make any comments or ask questions. As this is a public hearing, I would ask anyone who would like to come forward and address the revenue neutral rate to please come forward at this time. Going once, going twice. Seeing none, I now formally close the public hearing on the revenue neutral rate. Madam President, there will be no action at this time, but further on in this evening's agenda at item 22.1, there will be an opportunity for the board to discuss and act on adopting the resolution to exceed the revenue neutral rate. Thank you.
Thank you. The next part of our agenda is our school highlights.
We have one more public hearing on the agenda, and that's on
true.
the budget.
The school budget. That's an important
That's an
one.
important one.
We need that one.
Right. That's an important one. At this time, I officially open the public hearing of USD 501 on their proposed 2023-2024 budget. Kansas law, again, most things that school boards do is because of Kansas law. 792929 requires that prior to filing the adopted budget, which Mr. Menke and his staff have prepared, the board must hold a public hearing for the purpose of considering questions or any amendments to the proposed budget. This is now the time on the agenda and at the public hearing for anyone to raise any questions or any objections concerning the use of all funds that are proposed in the district's 23-24 budget. Is there anyone who wishes to make a comment, ask a question about the proposed school district budget for 23-24? Going once, going twice. Madam President, seeing no comments or no one appearing at this public hearing, I officially close the public hearing on USD 501's proposed 2023 and 2024 school district budget. No action is required at this time by the board, but on tonight's agenda, item 22.2 will be the opportunity for the board to discuss and approve USD 501's proposed budget for the 2023-2024 school year. Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate our trust from the public, and we want to thank each and every one of them for trusting us with moving forward with the education of their students. So thank you very much. So it was brought to my attention that we want to go back, or do we need to go back into executive session for 15 minutes? Is that correct at this time?
And Madam President, I think 10 minutes is probably all that we will need if we want to do that at this time.
Okay, I will need a motion for that, and I request patience from the audience. I promise we will be back.
Madam President, I move the Board of Education of USD 501 recess into executive session for 10 minutes to discuss confidential personnel matters to protect the privacy of the individuals being discussed pursuant to the personnel exemption of the Kansas Open Meetings Act. The board will return to open session at 6:18 p.m. in the boardroom. Dr. Anderson and the executive staff are invited into executive session.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Dr. Schumacher? And a vote, please.
The vote is open. Thank you. All votes are in and the motion carries unanimously.
No, sir. Closed session. So thank you for allowing us to stop, come out for that, and then go back in for them to finish their final 10 minutes. We appreciate your patience.
We are on school highlights, and it looks like we have a great agenda there.
Yes, this is my favorite part of the meeting. And so with this, please join us in watching the video about Miss Avery Zimmerman of Topeka High.
Hi, my name's Avery Zimmerman, and I'm a senior at Topeka High School. I do soccer, golf, yearbook, NEHS, and Interact Club. Soccer is definitely one of my big focuses, but I also focus a lot of time into the Interact Club.
Avery is just a great all-around kid, working on her CNA license over at TCAL. She's been involved in other things at school, some different clubs and organizations. You know, really, when we talk to kids, that's really what we hope every student does. You know, Avery's been able to do all of those things and excel all the way around, and so it's what we're all about.
I'd say the thing that impresses me most about Avery is her maturity level. If you see her on the soccer pitch or working on academics, she is ruthless. She's one of those perfectionists. She's always extremely hard on herself. And she's one of those kids that'll always rise to the challenge no matter what you ask her. Even if it's something that she's never tried before, she'll jump in with both feet.
I don't know how you say this, but she's got a heart the size of Texas. She always strives to do what's right, and her classmates come first and her school before anyone. She shines very bright.
I'm committed to Emporia State to play soccer and get a degree in nursing. With my academic and athletic scholarship, I'm getting most of my college paid for.
That makes it easy for us, you know, when you get a kid who already knows what they're doing, they've already applied to college, they're already accepted, they know they're going to play soccer or go for this program or that program. We know Avery's going to be successful no matter what happens. You can just check the box.
We have a good support system coming up, and at Topeka High, she's taken advantage of the opportunities and understands. She's got a very good understanding of what's an opportunity and what's not. Things are as fun as you make them, but she works on real projects and tries to move Topeka High forward in not just at school, but in the community as well.
I don't think there's anything she can't do. She is one of those gems that rises to the top. She's got it all.
I want to be remembered as someone that you could always talk to and that was always smiling and happy. Topeka High is something where there's something for everybody, and once you find something that you enjoy it because it goes by really fast.
Join me in applauding Ms. Zimmerman. Please come forward with Mr. Dick. And congratulations.
Thank you.
Good evening. I get the pleasure of introducing you to Avery. So I don't have a lot more to say that would be any different than was on the video. That pretty well covered everything. You can see she's been highly involved in things than her whole time at Topeka High. Being new there this year, I didn't have a lot of experience with the senior class and trying to figure out who'd be a great person to nominate for Student of the Month. And so as I started to ask people, there were a couple of names that came up pretty frequently, and Avery's came up several times. And so we thought, well, that's our one. That's the one we want to pick this time. And so we're real proud of Avery. I've gotten to know her a little bit through this, and everything that you saw in the video and everything everybody had to say about her, I'd say is 100% true. She is, and just a quiet leader in the hallways. She just always doing the right thing, influential with everybody there. She goes to TCALC this year, getting her CNA. She's already accepted to Emporia State, going to play soccer and in the nursing program. And so she has a real bright future. We're real proud of Avery. And I'm glad I got to meet her and get to know her a little better here as we've started school. And we have a gift for her.
You want to open your gift in front of the audience?
Thank you.
Oh, that's Mr. Dick and team from Topeka
Yes.
High.
Open the card first. Thank you. Thank you very much. Oh, yes. Employee State year. Love it.
It's your early year.
Yes. Go Hornets. Yes, fingers up. Thank you.
So Avery, we are honored to recognize you as the September Senior of the Month. And this is most important because you were the first. The first and the last are the most important. When you say, who's the first person that comes to mind, for you to be selected as the Trojan to be with us this evening is truly an honor. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Now, I suspect they have a question or two for you. So if you want to stand up and microphone, just a moment. And if they have a question, I'll turn it over to Madam President.
Do I have any questions down there? Dr. Bonebreak?
Yes, Avery, nurses are God in the hospitals, but once you go for being a physician, come on.
I mean, you never know. I might want to go back to school after I get into it. But yeah, I'm very excited to get into the field of healthcare, whether that's nursing or if I want to go back and get more schooling.
Because of the shortage of primary care physicians, you might even get tuition covered in the next few years too.
That is true. That's something to think about for sure.
Mr. Munoz?
You know, recently we had a very special guest, Secretary Cardona, who visited lots of places, but TCALC was one of those. Could you tell us a little bit about your experience at TCALC? What got your attention and what's your experience been like so far?
So far, I love it. I love all of the staff there, and I really, really like my instructor. They're all very friendly and very supportive, and they're just like I feel like I can talk to them about really anything, and they want to get everybody involved in a career path that they feel is fit for them.
Well, thank you very much.
Dr. Schumacher?
Congratulations. A lot of time when we have seniors of the month, there's a cheering section. And I was hoping maybe you could introduce some of the people that came along with you.
I have my dad here in the yellow chair. He just came from a golf tournament. And then my mom sitting right there. And then I have my grandparents as well.
Thank you. I once roamed the halls of Topeka High, and your father was an important figure in my life and important figure in me becoming a doctor. I was in MD to B club, and Mr. Zimmerman was one of my was the faculty sponsor. So I know that you're in good hands if you have him on your side. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Mr. Tatum?
Congratulations. This is a big deal for you. And we're going to be watching with a lot of interest in how your career unfolds. I don't know if it's occurred to you, but the colors of Topeka High are very much like the colors of Emporia State.
Yes.
So I don't know, is there some kind of serendipity going on? But that's cool. You won't have to change your color schemes of your school a whole lot. So I hope you do great things at Emporia State, just like you've been doing great things at Topeka High.
Thank you. Yeah, that's one of the first things my mom told me when I committed there. I get to keep all my gear.
That's right.
Well, we are just so proud of all the things you've done. Being picked early in the year like this means all your career in high school has been a standout. And we want to thank your parents and your grandparents for being that great example. I noticed that you opened your card before you opened your gift. That's great training from parents. And I bet you there's been other training as well. So we want to thank them for allowing you to be part of our student staff at Topeka Public Schools. So thank you so much. And we are so proud. We hope you'll come back and talk to us again at a board member after you've been to college. That would be really wonderful.
Yes.
You're always welcome and invited. Thank you.
Thank you for the recognition. I'm very honored.
If you can stay for a few minutes after the very last recognition, we'd love to take a photo with you. Our next guest, a very special guest, Dr. Francis and Catherine Wirens. If you could please come forward at this time, and they'll share a little bit with you, but let me share a few things with you just to begin. Rarely do you have a young person. I have children that are in their 20s and almost 30s, and that have the foresight to give generously, to be humble in character, to be loving in a way that lasts a lifetime. And they have a child that's done just that. They will share a little bit with you about Peter, but we'd like to share with you as a recognition, although we know you'll be sharing a little bit with the board about your son and his wishes, and but we'd like to share with you in his honor, we will be planting a memorial at Topeka High. One will be a tree that will grow every year so that we remember that his life everlasting continues to bless all of us. And you could see that tree bloom at Topeka High. We will be sure to take pictures if you're not able to come in the spring when that tree blooms. So we will let you know when that tree will be planted as well. We'd like to plan that with you so that we can learn a little bit about anything, any particular tree with the choices that we have that we know will last, that you'd like to see there with his name and plaque placed there. The second item will also be his nameplate in the halls of Troy. He was a tutor, a mentor, one that was also quite inspirational. So his nameplate will be in a piece of furniture, whether it's the bench or the chair or the library stand, but they're deciding where that might be because some of his teachers are still there. And once they select that place where his name will forever be engraved, then that means that every time that you visit the halls of Troy, you can go to that space and feel a little piece of him and know that we are remembering him in our walk on this side of heaven. Having said that, please join me in thanking Peter's parents, and they will share a little bit with you about the donation that he has given. Let's welcome them.
Good evening. Thank you for inviting us to be here. So Peter told us when he was in 8th grade that he wanted to go to Topeka High, which was out of his school district. And he really, really enjoyed his years at Topeka High. He particularly enjoyed the diversity of the student body and the many different types of friends that he was able to have. And he enjoyed the athletics and he enjoyed the academic challenges. And one of the things that he and I enjoyed together was studying together, studying the sciences, studying mathematics. Yeah, and in his will, he specifically hoped that that his bequest would go to help with tutoring and with students that were to help them advance. And so in speaking with the staff at 501, they've come up with some ideas that really quite wonderfully mesh with his hopes and wishes. And we're grateful. I feel like his voice was heard quite well. I feel like his bequest has been treated with a lot of honor. And so thank you very much. We're just very grateful.
And Mr. Dick's going to share a little bit about how those funds will be used. And as we continue with the program, we would ask that you stay around for a moment because we're going to take a picture, unless you have to leave. And as you prepare to leave, and Mr. Dick shares how those funds will be used. For those that don't know the first half of this story, as Peter has transitioned into his new life, this bequest will continue to be something that blesses Topeka High. So as you do depart, we would love to have a picture of Peter that you would like for us to use so that as we share his story, as we prepare the memorial, that we can post his picture and share with you those future posts that we'll be making throughout the rest of this month. Again, thank you so much for being here this evening.
So yes, we met earlier this school year and discussed some ideas and options and things that would honor Peter in the way that he would like and what was important to him and the time that he was at Topeka High and the experience that he had with his father, which really was around a lot of tutoring at home. They got to work on science and math together quite a bit. And so he grew particularly fond of those subjects and just the time that he got to spend with his dad while they studied those things together and worked on those things at night. And he would like to have his gift go to have something along those experiences for other students. And so what we talked about was that money would be used to help pay for tutoring in math and science classes for students, and also to help pay some CEP or concurrent credit tuition in math and science classes, and also to help fund some teachers in order to get their credentials to go on and teach higher level CEP courses for students at Topeka High School in math and science. And so that's the three areas that the funds will be targeted towards from their gift.
Thank you, Mr.
Sure.
All right, and for our final recognition this evening is the recognition of the United for a Successful School Year organization. Okay, so normally Pastor White is here, but there is a woman behind the scenes organizing all of this, along with Pastor White. Are you here? Okay, there's a woman behind the scenes organizing all of this. So first of all, let's applaud New Mount Zion church family in totality and fellowship that together, am I correct? You and Pastor Brody are really kind of the leaders in this work. Let's thank them and applaud them as she comes forward, and we'll share a little bit about this project. All right, and I know you're not used to talking up here, but let's give you that opportunity.
Okay.
And so this is what, 4 years in or 5 years in?
Yeah, well, we started at New Mount Zion and I
Right,
just
I
ran
remember.
out of space.
In that parking lot, was
Yes,
that about?
Right, well,
about
we did
4
it
or 5
inside first and then we went into COVID, so we did it outside.
Okay.
So yes,
And so, and they have been responsible for thousands of supplies, backpacks, school supplies, and the vision was that multiple churches and organizations will come together, which is what has occurred. So I'm going to turn it over to you. You can share a little bit about your role in the church and who you are, and then, and really what occurred. They've already seen the video, but I'll turn it on over to you.
so I am the outreach coordinator at New Mount Zion Baptist Church. So I try to come up with different things that we can do in the community. Because my job, I was at Topeka Housing Authority and I was in everybody's homes doing housing inspections. So I could hear what people were saying that they needed. So I just went to Pastor White and I was like, I think that we can do this. And so what we did first, I wanted to do haircuts. And so we started out doing haircuts, free haircuts. As I was driving around, I would go into different people's places of business and ask the barbers or hairstylists to give us an hour of their time. And so they all came over. I had 21 barbers. They cut hair from 3 to 7 so that kids could go to school their first year. Well, it was the AT&T heard about it. They donated the next year, the backpacks. So it just grew because people started giving us things to give out.
So Ms. Davis, how much did we give out this past year at Highland Park? Or how many people? How many people?
I don't know how many people was there, but I think we gave out over 600 backpacks. Yes.
600 and something.
Yes, and then,
Still-
yes.
So Ms. Davis, on behalf of Topeka Public Schools, and Ms. Davis has already said she needs the expo center. We called, they were gonna charge us, that doesn't work. So we're gonna fuss a little bit, Expo Center, we know you're watching, that, so that we get a bigger space than Highland Park High School. So, but isn't that amazing? that We need a larger space to give. That's some good stuff. All right, so on behalf of Topeka Public Schools, for Pastor Delmar White, you, Miss Davis, and the entire New Mount Zion Church and fellowship, thank you for your outstanding leadership and organization and organizing the 2023 United for Successful School Year Supply Giveaway. We
Thank you.
appreciate you. We
You're
love you.
welcome. And we thank you for giving us the space. Thank you.
That does conclude our highlights. And at this time, can we take a 3-minute break for pictures with Miss Avery and Miss Davis? All right, Miss Avery and family, if you'd like to come up, come on up, Dad. You're responsible for board member here, Dad. Come on up. Yeah. Okay. Grandma, did you want to come up? You know, you've been here for about 2 hours. No, that's, oh, yes. Any other grandmas? Okay, there it is. How are you? Right in the middle. Dad, come on there. And next, Bruce Brown.
Everyone look right here. Okay. Okay, everyone, 3, 2. One more. 3, 2.
Congratulations. All right, and Ms. Davis, you want to come on up? All right, Topeka High football and the Chiefs football tonight. Isn't that something? So the balls are in front of you, but take your time with
We're
the.
ready. Ms. Lister, do we have any public communications this evening?
We do not, Madam President.
Okay, then we are going to go to disposition of business by consent. And I'll need a motion for that.
Madam President, I move the board approve the items of business by consent as presented and authorize the board president or superintendent to sign the special project and purchasing contracts for and on behalf of the board.
Do I have a second? Dr. Bonebrake? Any concerns or questions? Dr. Bonebrake?
I just wondered, those funds available for tuition reimbursement, for going to college, getting a teaching degree, are they required to serve as a teacher for any length of time, or?
I'm looking for which number you're looking at, sir. Which,
I don't remember what number it was.
okay, and I'm looking for.
Grow your own program possibly?
It could have been.
Which will be in your report, Dr. Anderson?
Yeah, the Grow Your Own program updates.
Okay. All right. Never mind.
I believe our vote is open.
It is. And all votes are in and the motion carries unanimous.
Dr. Anderson, we need a superintendent's report.
All right, and gladly, we will provide that under the strategic planning committees for 23-24. You have a document in front of you, which were the work session topics for last year. You may recall at a particular last year's retreat, we suggested we have work sessions. From that, we said, let's stay focused, and those work sessions would be topic oriented. As a reminder, these are the topics that you had. Does everybody have one of these, Mrs. Lister? Okay.
Yes.
So we are now at September, which academic achievement, and I believe we are still waiting for the performance scores to be approved. Once those are approved, that will be shared. And then equity between schools need index was what you shared, what you discussed last year. This is just your reminder, and you might still say, I want to know more about this topic. I want to go deeper into this topic. Our team will be taking notes. And so we're just going to ask if we can engage just with the board at this time about what topics. Didn't matter where it fits. We can determine that if you don't have a particular month that you want it covered. but what topics might you want us to give you information on? Because the superintendent's report on your work session days would be something related to that topic. So you have research or information. You might remember Dr. Grimes came and shared information about mental health. That was all new for you. And then it led to your work session where you could have conversation about things you wanted to hear or see or just comments. So at this time, are there particular topics that are on this list first that you'd like to get more information on and that you'd like for us to dive in deeper? If I may, mental health is one that the DCAC is going to be studying as it relates to suicide prevention. And the DCAC, I believe, may have picked another topic. I'm sure Mr. Campbell might be speaking on that. She was at that meeting, but I know mental health was an area for DCAC. But suicide prevention was one, and I believe there was another piece. I think it was family mental health, parent mental health. So if you'd like for mental health to continue to be a topic for us to go deeper in, I see some head nods. We will maintain that topic. So we'll be keeping that. What other topics on this list would you like for us to present on?
Yeah, under career readiness, I mean, I really want to know what we're doing to present other options besides schooling after they graduate. So into trades specifically, there's a lot of options available for our students. And as some students are thinking about college and applying in the fall, I'd like to know, what are we doing to make sure that students who decide that might not be the path for them, that they understand that there's lots of other trades and routes where they can go on to be pretty successful.
Okay, so we'll present more on CTE this year, the career portion of college and career readiness and industry credentials specifically in jobs post high school. So our team has that written down. Other items that you would like?
I would just piggyback, not just kind of what's presented, but when it's presented to students, you know, kind of like when's the time that they learn about these options that are available? Is that 7th, 8th grade? Is that 10th grade? Is that 12th grade? Just some of that. But then also that, you know, it's kind of off cycle right now, but I always am interested in legislative updates, just because that's really important with what we do. And a lot of that drives what we do. So I think it's nice to have our representatives come at least once or twice.
Yeah, and they do come normally each year, but again, only when you request at a work session. So we'll tell Jim, ask Jim Edwards to come and represent that piece. And then we'll bring back, Dr. Schumacher, if this is in alignment with your request, the individual plan of study starts at middle school to say, what's your plan at middle school? And they are required to complete that. To become accredited, we must have a certain percentage, which we strive for. 100% of the students have an individual plan of study. So we will present on individual plans of study in alignment with the career technical education. Other items that you would like for us to present on?
I'm going to get back on this extending the school year bit. Independence, Kansas has gone to a 4-day school week starting this year. And they're only going to have 155 days of school. They're going to make up the shortfall from 155 to 180 by adding 35 minutes per day. So that's, you know, a little over 2 hours. And to me, that doesn't replace a whole day. I was wondering if maybe, and they're saying they had more teacher applications for their positions than they knew what to do with. So maybe it'd be easier to recruit teachers, but I was wondering if instead of only 100, we'd still have the 180 days, but extend it on into the end of May. We'd have those 15 days. Instead of stopping the first week or so of May, we'd go to the end, maybe a week in June, and still have the 180 days, but a 4-day week. And maybe our teacher shortage wouldn't be as difficult to deal with.
So if I'm understanding you correctly, the 4-day work week options that also are extended school year options embedded, and being able to present on what that could look like.
Right.
Okay?
So baby steps again.
Yeah, absolutely. So we will add that down and make note of that and bring that back to you. Coincidentally, in Independence, the former director of secondary education that worked for me is now the human resource person in Independence. So I did ask if we could have a visit. I figure you'd love to see what they're doing. So he is happy to arrange that. If anybody wants to take a ride with me down Independence, just to see what does this new structure look like. I'll entertain that if you all have an interest, and reach out to that superintendent. Other items that you would like to have discussed?
So I have two. All right. And so tonight, as we will approve the budget, and in the building needs assessment and budget considerations that we were provided, it's stated that many of our buildings have a high percentage of English learners. And so students who are identified as EL is considered a barrier. So under the budget consideration portion, it is stated to continue to ensure that the staff-student ratio for mental health, EL, and SPED staff is equitable. So I had a really good meeting before this meeting with staff to discuss this. So thank you all for your time. And as far as a work session topic, learning more about this compensation study. So I don't know if this is appropriate venue or not. You'll let me know, for us to talk about like equity with not just EL Paris, but with bilingual staff and all the value that they bring to help increase the academic achievement, because we have a challenge here. So as per the statute, we have to raise the level of all students moving up in CAP, correct? So our English learners having bilingual staff who can help them is going to help increase our CAP scores. So thinking about a compensation study, I don't know if we can compare the salary with, not with surrounding school districts, but with districts that have a similar percentage of English learners. So Emporia comes to mind. Like I know that Emporia does provide a stipend for any of their staff that use their bilingual skills to help with student achievement. So I don't know if this is the venue or not.
And you had equity between schools needs index last year, which was, I think, more of a facilities piece, and Ms. Schmidt brought up last year. So it's equity still, and it's really, equity within the realm in which you just spoke about. And if I recall correctly, we looked at compensation last year with facilities and who gets what. So we'll play with the language a little bit before and when you're at the agenda prep to see if we've captured it properly. But from what I'm hearing you share, it's equity as it relates to compensation for our bilingual and EL staff, and not compared to necessarily those in the county, but those that are of like districts. Did I capture that properly?
Yeah, thank you. Right, because like Auburn Washburn has very few ELs, So let's not compare ourselves to Auburn Washburn. But right, so I just didn't know if compensation was something that we would discuss or not publicly, so.
Mr. Robbins, unless you see a problem with that, at some point, one of the topics to be in the comparison and what that looks like as it relates to equity within districts. And what we learned is that something that overall you feel like human resources would have the ability, not just compensation, but overall EL and what's done, because compensation may also be benefits and things that they get or do. Are you comfortable with that being a work session topic, sir, later in the year? So with that particular topic, as we'll look at that equity discussion in terms of compensation, especially if it's specific to people and individuals, that may be a small group piece that you have with Mr. Robbins directly. But the piece of EL, if you recall, we brought Ms. Curry in and other individuals. So perhaps that EL topic, and then what gets tied into that perhaps is another conversation in terms of what all components. And if there's a piece specific to individuals and what other districts are doing, that may be a dialogue with the strategic planning committee. Because here's what's going to happen from your work session topics. This helps with the strategic planning. I know you want to watch that football game. You got that? I'm watching you. This will become your strategic planning topic. So EL is, or that's one of the topics. And that may as well be where these comparisons come up. So we have it so noted that it's a topic you'd like for us to explore, and we will be keeping that one listed and determining how best to do that. You had a second topic also.
Yes, so the second topic is dual language, of course. These are like, you can pretty much predict what I'm going to be talking about. How we can continue to magnetize native English speakers starting in elementary school. So, yeah.
And we'll write that down exactly the way that you said it. I know the team, they're writing down the notes for me. So how we magnetize our dual language students that are native English speakers
exactly.
in the dual language
keep
program.
that balance of native English, native Spanish. And then we know as the years progress, we see attrition and what we can do to keep I'm not worried about the native Spanish speakers. Like the word is out, so many know about our dual language program, but the native English speakers, there's still too many people who don't know it exists. Like I think I shared recently that I was at a neighborhood potluck and somebody said, oh, I send my kid to collegiate because they teach Spanish there. And I'm like, what? I'm like, well, I didn't say that. I said, really? Well, did you know that Topeka Public Schools has an award-winning dual language program? You don't have to pay. Oh, really? I'm like, yeah, the bus will pick your child up. I mean, so just more promotion for our native English speakers.
Okay.
So,
all right, so we have that noted as well. Thank you. Anything else that you would like for us? And if we run out of places for the months in which to have the work session item, then we certainly will just add it under our strategic planning piece. So you still have the conversation this year, but maybe in a different format. Ms. Boley?
I think Mr. Tatum had.
I did. Thank you, Madam President. It looks like in April, we're slated to talk about finance and enrollment trends. I think the board would benefit from having a finance and budget conversation sooner rather than in the spring. So I'd like to see, and I know Dr. Anderson, you're wanting us to kind of focus on things that are already on the list, but that would definitely be something that I think we could probably use a little more work in maybe over the course of the next couple of months.
Absolutely. And things on or off the list, this just gave us a starting mark because this is what you did last year. I think the April was because you were new. Some of you were newer then and you were figuring out all kinds of things. And so April seemed like that made sense. So moving that up from what I'm hearing you say to first semester and picking a month first semester or certainly prior to April to talk about budget, which goes hand in hand with legislation and legislative issues and advocacy. So we will propose some dates and get back with the board on what date, what month that might work. What'll happen is next month, I'll bring this back to you with some particular months in mind. And I will have spoken with some of you in advance to see if you're comfortable with where I place that. Thank you for that suggestion to maintain that.
Thank you.
I had a couple of suggestions, as you probably well guessed. I was wondering, I don't know what our data is exactly in our high schools on AP courses, but I do know nationally students drop out of our AP courses. So ways of supporting our students there, what is our data there? And if we can keep those AP students a strong core all the way through high school is one of my thoughts.
And Ms. Bowley, would you be open to AP and concurrent enrollment? Because some individuals, because you have to score a certain score on the AP, prefer the concurrent credit and dual credit. So if we can lump all those, because I don't think we've really brought that to the board in recent years. So we'll bring both that as one big piece and bring some of our counselors to talk about that. That'd be great.
Another piece was we have such success with our college prep. And if we could look at a board of finding ways to find accelerated learning and maybe another building somehow, building a program, it's not going to be probably as robust as college prep is at TCALC because of the way we've built that program. But I would like to see that accelerated learning piece available to more students if possible. And I don't know what that would look like, but I would just like to try to replicate at least a piece of that somehow to challenge our students to move forward. Another piece is we haven't received our scores yet, but I'm concerned about learning recovery for students after the pandemic. So it may be a conversation to have after our scores come in. If we have that concern for our district, I think from the little that we do know, our district fared better than many districts, but maybe someplace where we want to look into if we find our need there when our scores come in. Another piece is I know right now bus drivers are an issue, but I also know attendance and late arrival to school is an issue. And so looking at maybe some type of proactive movement towards helping students get to school somehow, creating some type of transportation for them, whether it's, I don't know, just a work session over our attendance to try to help students get there. If they miss their bus, miss their city bus, miss their alarm, whatever it is, but getting them in school for at least part of the day would be of interest. And also, I believe last year we understood that Topeka High lost some of our ELL students through the program and how we can support that to continue building that program at the high school level. I know it's new, but yes, the dual language and keeping our students involved in that as they go through the high school years. So those are some of my ideas and I will now be quiet.
And so if I understood you correctly, and again, the team took the notes. So the dual language, when we're talking about it under what Mr. Campbell mentioned, perhaps that work session then also goes into what is it and how many students and what does it look like? And then we go into the pieces about magnetizing as well in that meeting. The other items you mentioned really are academic achievement. So perhaps when the scores are presented, we're talking about acceleration, learning recovery, all those components and what does that look like and how do we challenge our learners in that regard? So, and even the piece of chronic absenteeism, and that may more be a strategic planning piece, the chronic absenteeism and strategies around that and an equity piece that may fit there, just in terms of making enough space for everything to fit for this year for work sessions. We have some great work sessions planned. We will be sure to jot these down and bring these back to you. Thank you for that. If I may move into the final item, which is the update for Grow Your Own. The video that
Dr. Anderson.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but at our retreat last time, the members who were in attendance would like to look at having more work sessions, learning sessions. We thought that they would be more like learning sessions. And
so more than one a month.
And yes, like a retreat, but actually a learning session where we have a little bit more time to learn about a subject. And so there was agreement among the board members to have some more of those meetings. We did not decide on how many, but once a quarter or once a month, I think would be our choices. And I would kind of like to get feedback from our board on what would be working for them because Saturday morning would probably be our options. And so may I ask them at this time if they could give me some idea of what they're thinking? And so if I could just have a show of hands of wanting to have a separate work session outside of the 2 board meetings that we just legally have to have because of our school business, of having it once a month learning session, if you would have a show of hands for that.
A point of clarification, when you say learning session, are we talking about just like boardsmanship, like how we can work better as a board, not necessarily TPS specific, but just board in general, boardsmanship?
I believe our discussion was to learn more. I think Ms. Schmidt was the one that brought up that she would like to be able to delve into situations a little bit more than just at a board meeting. So we were talking about learning sessions, but we do need to finish our board training because that was not completed. So we do need to continue with that. That's what I was asking. So the options would be monthly. I like the idea of like every other month, or quarterly. So if you would like to do them monthly, I just need a show of hands. Bi-monthly. 3 and quarterly.
Quarter or bi.
So if you can do either one, I guess we're into bi-monthly would be our choice. To have a little bit more time to dive into our learning as board members, not only as working together as board members and learning there, but also some of these items could be handled at those as well.
Would you like for us to send out a calendar for October, November? Is that the directive for administration?
Madam President, if I remember correctly, were we in the retreat, were we kind of tossing around the idea of whether or not we wanted to have these learning sessions in the context of our regular every other week gatherings of the legal board meetings, or if we were wanting to do something in which we kind of went offline to another location to just, kind of a retreat style session. If I remember correctly, I think we were kind of talking about those 2 options. And I don't know if that's something that we want to try to hammer down a little bit more now.
So I think there are a couple things. Number one, at the retreat, we decided that we need to do a follow-up retreat because we didn't get through all the agenda items and there was going to be a calendar piece sent out so we could schedule that. So in the very last 15 or 20 minutes, we talked about how everybody agreed it was good conversation, just being at a different setting, a little less formality. It was an opportunity we all really enjoyed to ask more questions. And we thought it, be an opportunity where we could go, hey, we want to learn more about budget. Mr. Minke could come out and spend a couple hours with us, whether we never determined whether it was going to be an additional Thursday night or once those, but we all said, yeah, we like that. We like the opportunity to be able to really dig down and focus on something, maybe where we don't have to have this whole group of people and the formality of it all, but staying within the legal requirements of our meeting, be able to say, hey, Mr. Minke, come talk to us out of Bishop for 3 hours about budget and teach us everything we need to know. And, really allowing the back and forth, knowing that that's what we're coming to the meeting to talk about. So bring all our questions and all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, I agree. I think everybody said that would be good. I just don't know, because we were trying to wrap the meeting up and let Dr. Weisman go. I don't know if we ever got to the point of how often do we want to do that?
And if I may, Madam President, would this be something that perhaps a few of you together, as you're speaking on this, that Ms. Foley and Schmidt and Mr. Tatum, or maybe others, but a few of you all kind of hammer that piece out, what does this look like and when do you have it? And even where would it be? And then what do you need us to do in support of you? Since you have just shared that you like this bi-monthly opportunities for learning. And then you all can tell us what it looks like, because it may take more time than what we have in this space to really hammer out all these other details, like when's the next one, or you
I
didn't
agree.
finish the agenda.
I agree, because I hadn't really thought about it. It wasn't on the agenda, so it wasn't even in my purview. So
And
yeah, it'd be
also,
good.
Could I throw in also Dr. Wiesman, she facilitated our last one and was wonderful and, reminded us that we're due paying members. So that's something else to consider. We don't have to decide right now, but doing this moving forward, would we have Dr. Wiesman come in for like the specific boardsmanship, like how to be most effective as a board? Maybe some sessions could be her, and then other ones, like to give Ms. Schmidt's example, Mr. Mankey, talk to us about the budget, or Mr. LR, please talk to us about, HR. Because what is the difference between this and this and this?
Or bilingualism.
So I could see it looking like two ways, like maybe with KASB, boardsmanship, and then other times, district specific.
Yep, agree.
Mrs. Whitman, any recommendations or any information that we need to know as meeting as a smaller group and creating an agenda for this?
Madam President, the only issue will be if there's more than majority of quorum for, then it has to be noticed. And it would be the same procedure of opening and closing the meeting, but the agenda would be a little different. Certainly at the meeting should have to take care of the monthly, payment of bills, but that might be able to be expedited. But yeah, as long as it's announced as a meeting, public would have a right to attend, then the format or content of the meeting would be up to the board in what they want to know.
Thank you. Thank you for that little detour, Dr. Anderson.
No, thank you. So we will look forward to hearing back from the board and the members of 3 members or the others that give us direction on what you'd like to see. And as we move forward, the final item, we're just going to show a quick video. It's like 2 minutes. We had a visitor this week. Many of you were there in some capacity. Go right on ahead.
What we're trying to lift up when we talk about raising the bar in this country. That's why programs like this, what we saw here today in Topeka, are inspiring. That there's intentionality around getting middle school students thinking about college. And we're supporting grow your own programs like what we saw here today. Students going into a pathway to become teachers, connecting with the colleges, graduating high school with college credits. That's powerful. When you can do that in the school, the opportunities are limitless.
It was very special that I was able to come, especially because I'm now at a university, to be able to come back to Topeka and meet the secretary. Hearing the other teachers that were here, the other students, the future of education is so bright.
So as a teacher, it means a lot to have our national leaders actually on the ground with us. As teachers, we have to bring our authentic selves every day to the classroom. Being from Topeka and applying that same type of cultural knowledge helps form our teaching.
So powerful to hear directly from our students and from our teachers, because they know, right? They know what we need. They know what our students need. And I just always think, our teachers, they stand with one foot so firmly grounded in the reality of what is, but the other foot stands in the promise and in the hope of what can be. And so when I'm surrounded by other educators, it just gives me that hope again.
Thank you, Secretary Cardona, for visiting Topeka Public Schools.
So the incredible communication teams put that together like an hour or two after the event, mostly from video footage that Mr. Garrett took on his cell phone. They are really a remarkable team, and Dr. Gray's vision with Mr. Michael Williams putting it all together because he wasn't there. So he received the phone video and put that together so we could send that to the White House team and thank them. And perhaps there'll be some visits there as a result, because I think they were pleased not only with the letters from the College Prep Academy writing to them specifically about the importance of funding more college prep academies, but they were also pleased with the follow-up that our students and staff have given them. So we're excited, which leads us to Grow Your Own programs. So Grow Your Own, we have 3 apprentices. There are only about 15 in the entire state. Those individuals are having their college education funded by KSDE for those apprentice, but that's only one path for Grow Your Own. We do ask, and we have partnered with Washburn, and we've asked that they provide added support for people who will stay with us 2 years after. That's not necessarily part of the apprentice program, but that was our request for another Grow Your Own, which has 16 teachers in it at Washburn University. So we have 16 paras that are in a program at Washburn. So both Dr. Steffen and Dr. Mazachek joined me in the audience when the secretary came, because we can't do this alone. And we've committed some support in dollars. They are committing really a large portion of dollars, but we've added the caveat that they stay 2 years in Topeka Public Schools after. Hopefully that answers that question. We won't go into a lot of depth in the interest of time in the game about the other Grow Your Own pieces, but we do know that Human Resources will be giving a report at some point. It didn't come up in your work session items, but I think that that will be helpful to know about enrollment and about overall strategies for recruitment and retention, because it was one of your overall goals. And we'll leave the other Grow Your Own methods for them to share. And then, of course, the highlight one that started when I started was giving out contracts. I don't know why people wait till after people graduate. That's a long time. I can tell you as a sophomore, we want you to come back and teach. Even the little nurse here this evening, I'm going to ask her, what about a school nurse? But giving them the contract with the salary now, and this is now my 8th year, so now I'm able to meet all of those students who all are coming back. I mean, it's really great. So we have 30 teachers in that program right now at TCALC, all of whom have contracts to come back 4 years or 6 years, depending on what year they're in. So that's one of our Grow Your Own methods, amongst others, that we've instituted just in the last 8 years. I'll turn it over to you, Madam President. Those are all of our items.
Thank you. We have a few action items for tonight. 22-1 are resolutions. 22-2 approval of the adopting the school year budget. And 22-3.3 approve the policy and regulation changes recommended by the policy committee. Do we need any more information from our policy committee before we have an action item there? I believe there's a copy that everybody has at their desk. So 22-1, resolution adoption. Do I have a motion for 22-1?
Madam President, I move to approve resolution 24-003 to approve and adopt exceeding the revenue neutral rate by a roll call vote.
Do I have a second? Ms. Stewart Campbell?
Okay, Mrs. Bowley, yay or nay?
Yay.
Mrs. Stewart Campbell, yay or nay? Yay. Dr. Bonebrake? Yay. Mr. Schmidt? Yay. Thank you. Mr. Tatum?
Yay.
Mr. Munoz?
Yay.
And Dr. Schumacher?
Yay.
Thank you.
We need a motion for the approval and adoption of the school year budget for 23-24.
Madam President, I move to approve and adopt the 2023-2024 school year budget.
Do I have a second? Ms. Stewart Campbell?
The vote is open. All votes are in and the motion carries unanimously.
I need a motion for the approval of the policy and regulation changes recommended by the policy committee.
Madam President, I move to approve the policy and regulation changes as recommended, reviewed, and presented.
Do I have a second? Dr. Schumacher?
And the vote is open. All votes are in and the motion carries unanimously.
Thank you all for your action votes this evening. Dr. Bonebrake, board member comments.
Yeah, well, health and wellness don't meet till next week. And we've just discussed budget all the dickens. And I have no further comment in respect for football having precedent over education.
Dr. Schumacher.
Scared to say anything. No, I did not have any committees in the interim. I will say it, just a quick comment. I went to Topeka High the same time Peter did, and spending a lot of time in the band room. I knew Peter. I wouldn't say well, but I knew who Peter was. And, you know, there's small things in high school that you know, small things become big things. And I think tonight's meeting with Mrs. Zimmerman and Peter's family, the Wyrens, and I'm proud and happy to continue to support students through those small things. So hopefully they can become bigger. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Mr. Tatum.
I don't think I've had any committee meetings since the last time that we met. And in respect for the Super Bowl champions, the Kansas City Chiefs, I'm going to keep my comments short and sweet. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Munoz?
Kudos to our administration for hosting our special guest today. I think everything went flawlessly, and I know it's a lot of work in a very short amount of time. I just wanted to say that it didn't go unnoticed by all of us how orderly everything was. And I think obviously those who visited us noticed as well. So thank you all very much.
All right, a policy committee, we did meet last week, and I'm going to keep this very short, but we discussed the open enrollment legislative changes, and Dr. Kipp is developing recommendations on capacity and classroom student-to-student teacher ratios, and it's going to be very, very interesting. This is, you know, the law also known as the open borders. So, but later we'll give you more updates as we continue to discuss how this is gonna pan out. And last, I just want to thank Southwest Publishing and John and Sydney Cruz for their generous donation to Ross Elementary, and also to Mr. Lee for paying off student lunch debts, and finally to First Baptist Church and Mr. Patterson as well for their donations to Topeka Public Schools. Thank you.
I left on your table, Raise the Bar information that was handed out at a round table to talk to an assistant of our Secretary of Education. And so I just brought that information to share with you. I think I would like to say we had a lot of teachers that we approved pay for summer education and also beginning of the year for our new teachers, and it was a long list. And just for those people to give of their time to learn more this summer, give those workshops and also to help our new teachers get started. I just want to thank them, and it's what makes our district strong. Go Chiefs. Do we have a motion for adjournment?
Madam President, I move the meeting adjourned.
Do I have a second? We have a second, Dr. Bonebrake.
Your hands.
Thank you all tonight.